Namaste dear students, welcome to online classes, Mangalore University. Today in our session, I'll be talking about a novel, Animal Farm. In it, in this session, I'll mainly focus on the themes of the novel. See dear students, in the last session, we discussed about some important characters of the novel. Themes we are talking about. Animal Farm has some important themes. The novel has some important themes. These themes portray some important messages. Those messages will definitely carry you in order to understand the novel eminently. So, the contents of the session, especially the themes of the novel: utopia or dystopia, religion and tyranny, the corruption of socialist ideals in the Soviet Union, the danger of naive working class, the abuse of language as instrumental to the abuse of power, intelligence and education as tools of oppression, violence and terror as means of control. The last theme of the novel is that the propaganda and its duplicity. First theme, I'll be discussing with you about utopia or dystopia. Before we talk about the novel Animal Farm, we will understand first about utopia. What is utopia? Utopia is a place or an ideal perfection, especially in laws, government, and social conditions, where highly desirable or nearly perfect qualities for its citizens. Very easy to understand. Utopia, it is a place where you have to provide a best, a perfect place for all citizens. The quality that matters, the freedom that matters, and the kind of independence the people are having in that particular society. This is called utopia. See, in Animal Farm, it was intended to be a utopia, or George Orwell actually wanted the Animal Farm as an utopian society. But unfortunately, it became a dystopia when the pigs changed it into a communist society. See, look at that. Now you will understand the difference between utopia and dystopia. See, it is totally an opposite concept. You have to understand the dystopian society with an utopian society. Dystopia means where there is a concept of great suffering or injustice to the common people as well as society, that is undesirable or frightening conditions, usually sets in future. See, the intention of the novelist is pretty clear. He wanted to create the utopian society through Animal Farm. But unfortunately, he ended with the dystopian concept where there is no space for a perfect, idealistic, and desirable qualities for all citizens. Old Major's ideas for the perfect society were well placed but did not work. Old Major had a good idea, about the perfect society. So far, we are talking about the utopian society, but unfortunately, that did not work at all in this novel. See, not even a one animal was really equal. What is the important motto and the theme of the novel? All animals are seeking the kind of equality, oneness, and the kind of utopian world. But unfortunately, that is not existing at all. And most were not cared for as should be. Not even a single animal is cared for as they are expected to be. That is the kind of an irony you are going to notice. Next, we will talk about religion and tyranny. See, these two important factors are playing an important role inside the novel Animal Farm. This theme strikes a satiric note is the idea of religion. It's really a satiric concept when we talk about the religious views. Moses Raven's talk of Sugar Candy Mountain originally annoys many of the animals. So see, Moses had a wonderful dream about all animals must have to be settled in a very furnished, well sophisticated society. That is called Sugar Candy Mountain. That's all about the dream, but not in reality. It originally annoys many of the animals. Since Moses, known as teller of tales, look at that. He is known for telling so many tales. Tales might not be true, might not be existed, might not become as we are expected. Seems an unreliable source. It is really an unreliable source as far as the Sugar Candy Mountain is considered. Orwell mocks the futile dreaming of a better place that clearly does not exist. See, George Orwell, the novelist of Animal Farm, he is mocking through some beautiful themes like religion, for example, tyranny, for example, utopia, for example, dystopia, for example, where he wanted to provide the kind of betterment place for all animals. Unfortunately, that is not available, that is not exist at all in the novel. Next, we will be discussing about the corruption of socialist ideals in the Soviet Union. This is also one of the most important things. See, in Animal Farm, whenever we are talking about Animal Farm and its existence, it's always having a correlation with the Soviet Union, where there was a revolution with an idealist society where they wanted to get the freedom, where they wanted to get rid of the drastic ruling of communism. But that revolution itself did not supposed to get the fruitful results to the common people. That is what can slightly observe in the novel Animal Farm. Animal Farm is most famous in the West as a stinging critic of the history and rhetoric of the Russian Revolution. It's nothing but a retelling story of the emergence and the development of Soviet communism in the form of an animal fable. Animal Farm allegorizes the rise to power of the dictator Joseph Stalin. See, there comes the concept of discussion about the dictatorship. In the novel, the overthrow of the human suppressor, Mr. Jones, by a democratic coalition of animals quickly gives way to the consolidation of power among the pigs. Much like the Soviet intelligentsia, the pigs established themselves as the ruling class in the new society. See, what happened, at the very beginning part of the novel, the pigs wanted to create the society where all animals will get equality. In the same way, Russian Revolution had brought a lot of changes. Unfortunately, through the dictatorship of Joseph Stalin, they wanted to rebel against of that leadership. That itself did not give a fruitful results to the common people. The struggle for preeminence between Leon Trotsky and Stalin emerges in the rivalry between the pigs Snowball and Napoleon. In both the historical and the fictional cases, the idealistic but politically less powerful figure, that is Trotsky and Snowball, is expelled from the revolutionary state by the malicious and violent usurper of power. Power always matters inside the novel, especially the power corrupts the society. The purges and the show trials with which Stalin eliminated and had shown some potential his enemies and solidified his political base find expression in animal form as the false conceptions and executions of animals whom Napoleon distrusts. Stalin's tyrannical rule and eventual abandonment of the founding principles of the Russian Revolution are represented by the pigs turned to violent government and the adoption of human rights and behavior. The trappings of their original oppressors. See, in this novel, the corrupt Russian society, which is the real replica of animal form before the animal form revolution. See, it is nothing but a retelling the story of Soviet Union communism in the form of an animal fable. It allegorizes, it criticizes, it satirizes the rise to power of the dictator Joseph Stalin. Orwell knows and he beautifully creates its most powerful irony through some concepts like power, corruption, socialist ideals, and revolutionary, in which he depicts the corruption of animalist ideals by those in power. Next, I'll be discussing about one more important theme, that is the danger of native working class. See, the danger you can notice with the native working class people. Portrayal not just of the figures in power but also of the oppressed people in themselves. The story is told from the perspective of the common animals as a whole. See, we can't take a particular opinion as a whole. That's why the story is told from the perspective of the common animals as a whole. The perspective of the common and collected ideals of the animals as a whole in order to get the equality. It demonstrates how the inability to question authority condemns the working class. In animal form, we are noticing that all animals except some dominant animals, all of them are condemning the authority, where you are going to notice the oppression of the working class, sorry, ruling class, and so called the dominant class. Oppression arises not only from the motives and the tactics of the oppressors, but also from the naviate of the oppressed. See, this is where we are talking about the suppression, oppression, and the difficulty and the problems the animals are facing inside the novel. That is the danger of naive working class. The working class people somewhat they combined, they clubbed, they gathered together in order to revolt against the ruling class, but unfortunately, their view was also not successful due to the power which was happening one among them. Obviously, it leads them to corrupt. Next, we will be talking about the abuse of language as instrumental to the abuse of power. See, language that matters inside the novel. In this novel, George Orwell concentrating a lot about the usage of words as well as language in its sharp critique, in which he talks about language can be manipulated as an instrument of control. See, the manipulation, this word will give you lot of information about how a society or a government can manipulate the existing rules as well as the power. See, the animals heartily embrace Major's visionary ideal of socialism. See, old Major's visionary of ideal socialism. All animals heartily welcome and embrace the Major's visionary idealism, but soon after Major dies, the pigs gradually twist the meaning of his words. They manipulate the words of the Major. They understood in a different manner and they completely manipulated the words and they took it into the another deal. The other animals seem unable to oppose the pigs. See, when the pigs are taking the control over the farm, whereas the other animals just they are watching and following the order, and they should not supposed to oppose to their words. The pig's words equal, ironically, and of the ideal of equality in general typifies the pig's method. See, this is very important theme you have to notice, my dear friends. One of Orwell's central concerns, both in Animal Farm and as well as in his other novel, 1984, is talking about the language can be manipulated as an instrument of control. It is an instrument of control in order to manipulate. In Animal Farm, the pigs gradually twist and distort a rhetoric of social revolution to justify their behavior and to keep the other animals in the dark. The animals heartily embrace Major's visionary. As I told, he had a vision. All the animals embraced it. But after Major dies, soon after he dies, the pigs gradually twist the meaning of his words. As a result, the other animals seem unable to oppose the pigs without also opposing the ideals of the rebellion. By the end of the novel, after Squealer's repeated reconfiguration of the seven commandments, in order to decriminalize the pig's treacheries. The main principle of the form can be openly stated as all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. See, this is one of the most important and most beautiful quotes which comes inside the novel. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. This outrageous abuse of the word equal and of the ideal of equality in general, it's a matter of typifying the pig's method, which becomes increasingly audacious as the novel progresses. Orwell's sophisticated exposure of this abuse of language remains one of the most compelling and enduring features of Animal Farm. Now, we will talk about intelligence and education as tools of oppression. See, this is also one of the major themes. You can have a look at it in this particular novel. Intelligence that operates fantastically well inside the novel. All intelligent animals supposed to get over the power in order to be a ruling personality. At the same time, some intelligent animals, they suppressed themselves, they restricted themselves in order to not to support the revolution, animal farm revolution. See, the intelligence and the education turn from tools of enlightenment to implements of oppression. No doubt about it, my dear friends, intelligence as well as education, they are most important tools in order to enlighten ourselves to implement of oppression. If an oppression is going on, when you are intelligent and an educationist, you will definitely oppose to that system. The pigs misused their education to deceive others. Look at that. See, in this novel, ironically, that intelligence as well as education misused so beautifully by pigs in order to deceive other animals. This is a very important point you have to notice. They rewrite the 7 commandments according to their own comfort. Look at that. See, when you are intelligent as well as an educated person, you can manipulate and you can rewrite it and you can change the entire scenario with your own comfort zone. That is what happened in the animal farm. All intelligent animals, they rewrite the commandments and according to their own comforts. And Napoleon's preparation to educate a new generation of pigs and indoctrinate them into the code of oppression. Next, I am talking about violence and terror as means of control. See, throughout the novel, you will have a notice about this particular terminology, that is violence as well as terror. It's the means of control from one set of animals to other group. See, the dictators use violence and terror to frighten their populaces, I mean people, into submission. A ruling party, so-called sophisticated people, powerful people, they created the kind of violence in order to control the common men into the suppression as well as submission. See, same thing had happened in the animal form due to the dictatorship, due to the violence. Some animals controlled their power on other animals. See, violence is one of the yokes. The animals wish to free themselves. They want to free themselves. It is a motto where you can observe inside the novel. They wanted to free themselves, but that is not happened. Terror comes also in threats and propaganda. See, the propaganda that matters. It works so beautifully in Squealer concept. See, Squealer is a staunch follower of Napoleon, where he had created the kind of a propaganda and which leads to threat the other animals. By that, he is creating a fear and threatening also a tool of control. Look at that. This is a very beautiful concept we have to look at. See, the fear, terror, and dictatorship, the power that ultimately leading the threatening to control over the other animal. Next, I am talking about the propaganda and the duplicity. See, this is where you will understand clearly about how the propaganda which operates inside the novel. Harmfulness in animal form, while acknowledging its value for rallying a mistreated and disillusioned populace. I mean, people in this novel considered as animals. The animals are so downtrodden, they are down to earth, downtrodden, that they are desperate for something in which to believe. They blindly believe in something, they will be get free from their clutches. They will be given food, they will be given a place, they will be given where they will feel a comfort zone. That is what they wish. George Orwell, novelist, he skewers the propaganda and exposes its nature as deception. See, deception. We have to divert the concentration of the animals from one particular concentration to another. Wheeler represents a totalitarian government's propaganda machines. As I told you pretty clearly, Squealer, by his name itself, that tells us he is a kind of a treacherous personality and representing totalitarian society, where he is representing the propaganda of the government's machine. Now, by and large, we will look at the complete plot analysis of the novel. The conflict arises when the animals' desire for freedom and equality is corrupted by consolidation of political power amongst the pigs. Ultimately, this is the very important point. With this point, you can understand the whole novel, where the conflict arises in among the animals in order to get and desire for the freedom and equality, that is also corrupted, ultimately not available. The animals' original goal is expressed in the first chapter itself. At the beginning of the novel, political power is embodied by the Mr. Jones, the farmer. At the end of the chapter 2, when Napoleon steals the cow's milk in order to provide the pigs milk as well as apples, the political power becomes embodied by the pigs. From chapter 2 to 7, trace the development of the pig's power. Again, you will have to notice the power of the pigs from chapter 2 to 7, and the other animals growing awareness that they have not achieved their goal after all. So, soon after the completion of revolution, their goal was never achieved, and all animals realized that concept. First, they claim more and more of the farm's resources for themselves. The pigs become more violent. In the meanwhile, during the course of the novel, the pigs become more violent, introducing the dog police force and ordering executions. See, look at that. When a person who is in power, definitely that power makes him to corrupt, and that corruption leads to destroy other animals. Same thing has happened here in this novel. The pigs claim the power to determine what the truth is. Wheeler changes the commandments of animalism according to his own wish. The animals slowly come to realize that their lives are no better than they were before the rebellion, before the revolution, and before the rebellion was started. They thought that they went against the rebellion, the revolution, in order to get the freedom, in order to get the betterment, in order to get the equality. But slowly they realize that that is not available there even after the completion of revolution. See, the climax of the novel that occurs in the chapter 7 itself, when Napoleon decides to sell the hen's eggs. Look at that. Napoleon decided to sell the eggs of the hens. The hens finally recognize that the pigs are their antagonists and they rebel. The hens rebel against the pigs. Their rebellion is brutally crushed and the hens are executed. Look at that. Their rebellion is brutally crushed. It was very brutal then, and the hens are executed. Boxer is the only character still clinging to the hope that freedom can be achieved. It is the only character who is having a lot more confidences in the future days to come. He will achieve the freedom. So, in the final pages, the animals, which the pigs dining with human farmers. Look at that. The animals dining with human farmers. Earlier, Mr. Jones is the owner of a farm. He ill-treated the animals, and the animals wanted to rebel against him, and the revolution had happened. At the end, what you have to see? The animals again dining with the human farmers, and find they are unable to tell the difference between humans and pigs. The pigs have become one with the human farmers. See, the pigs are also turned out to be the human farmers at the end of the novel. There is no difference between the pigs and the human farmers, because both groups are equally corrupted. The humans are also corrupted as well as the pigs are also corrupted by the reality of political power. See, where the political power starts its rule, when you feel about the opposition leader is slowly attracting towards the leading party, obviously that person will also accept the power, and he will also be corrupted ultimately. So with this, we have learnt a lot of things in this session. In the earlier session, we covered about the session first. In the session first, we learned about Orwell's biography, talked about the title of the novel, and Orwell's inspiration to write this novel. And we talked about the important characters of the novel. And in this session, elaborately, we discussed about some important themes of the novel and the plot analysis of the complete novel, how the animal form is very apt to discuss in the modern generation of its application of animal form in today's world, Obviously, there is no doubt there is a backdrop and there is a background scriptures you have to look. Russian Revolution with the animal farm, the comparison of the characters of animal farm with Russian revolutionaries. So that is all about today's session, dear friends. With this, I will conclude my session. Thank you very much. Happy reading. Stay safe.